Hey everyone, welcome to PintheQ Podcast. We are here live. Tom's River Fire Company No. 1 in New Jersey, Ocean County. Chief Gonzo. But what's your real name?
John Gonzalez.
John Gonzalez. We call him Gonzo because it's affectionate to us, and that's how everyone knows him. Everyone who's watching right now, they all know you by Gonzo, right?
I'm sure.
That's usually how it works. Pretty excited about episode 4 for a couple of reasons. One, of course, the most important reason is we got Gonzo in the studio with us, and more importantly, he has some good topics he wants to talk about and some important things, so we're going to get into that. First episode that's a sponsored episode.
I'm honored.
You should be honored. It's a first sponsored episode, so it's Eagle Emblems and Graphics.
It's nice.
Yes, so Eagle Emblems and Graphics, thank you very much for sponsoring the show. So let's get right into this. So, Chief, why did you become a firefighter?
Well, I gotta start, Frank. I'm an ex-chief now. Oh. I gotta just give my disclaimers here.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Anything that I'm gonna say today, I represent myself.
Right.
It's not speaking on behalf of any entity or agency.
Okay.
Just so I don't get accused of violating a rule that I probably wrote years ago.
Fair enough. So what made you become a firefighter, and when did this all happen?
So I've joined Fire Company 1 in Toms River in January 1991.
Okay.
I came in initially actually as fire police.
Oh.
And after a couple of months, I said, that's not really for me. I was ready to switch over and become a firefighter. But
right.
Before joining, I really didn't know much about the fire service. I was just out of high school.
So first generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I have a cousin that's was in the fire service in East Brunswick and was a chief and a commissioner. But
okay.
No close relatives
right.
in the fire service, parents, anything like that, brothers, sisters. But out of high school, I had been friends with John Genovese, who
right.
chief of Company 1 since like 4th grade.
Yep.
So we were friends back then, and his father was involved in Manchester at some time in the past, and he lived by the fire police captain, Freddie Eppinger, who was around here for forever.
Right,
and they were looking at the time for fire police. So John's like, hey, you want to go join the fire company and you go direct traffic or something? I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a cool thing. Okay, fine. I didn't know any better.
Right, right.
So he joined a couple months before me because you had to be 18. So when I turned 18 in November, I put my application in. I think he just came on in November. So it was January 91 when I came in and did the fire police thing for a couple of years, and took Freddie's flare tossing and flashlight tossing class. But then the more senior firefighters at the time said, "You're a young kid. Why are you fire police?" Fire police was meant for someplace for the old timers to go after they can't, physically fight fire anymore.
Right.
You guys should be firefighters. So I said, okay, and that's pretty much what happened. We, I gotta admit, my mother wasn't necessarily thrilled.
Okay.
She's like, "You're gonna be a firefighter? What? You're gonna go into buildings that are on fire? That doesn't
Everyone is
sound like
running
a good
out.
idea."
You're running in.
But we got over that, and I went to that fall. I was in the fall academy in Toms River in 91.
Much different academy then.
Very different academy then.
Right.
Unlike the beautiful structures that's there now, the classroom facilities, a great training facility, the new burn building, the classrooms, everything. At the time when I went through, there were 2 trailers that were put together. The floor kind of sagged in the middle, and you'd never sneak up on anybody in there because every step that you took, the floor would creak, and real different times than what we have now. But what the firefighters in Tom's River and even the county companies that use the facility, I mean, it's great advancement and
Right.
benefit to today's generation to have that kind of training facility available. That's good stuff.
Incidentally, I was there yesterday and got an opportunity to train with those guys, and some of the instructors were showing me around and got to go in the burn room and stuff, and just like you'd said, the advancement in that building, second story, it's pretty squared away facility. So it's good to see the progression from when we started. I went to academy in the 90s too, and it was much different. We used to go firehouse to firehouse to firehouse, and we didn't have an academy.
Right? So, the county used to travel around the.
Yeah, so you really didn't know where you're going until the instructors told you, next week we're going to be in Waretown, and okay, then now we're going to Bay Head, wherever we're going. So you really kind of didn't know, but yeah, it's definitely changed quite a bit from that.
Yeah, a real good advancement. I mean,
right.
The fire service has come so far along and using more science involved in firefighting techniques and things like that, and so. The training that's out there and the things that they're instructing now is really, impressive. And the facilities they have to do it, whether you're talking about here or even the Ocean and County Academy,
right.
I mean,
definitely
that facility's come so far a long way too.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny, we're talking about moving up and things getting better. So you were fire police, which I didn't know till today. It's pretty cool. And then now you're a firefighter. So how does it come that you're now a lieutenant? How'd that happen?
So it took a while. I'm going to say I didn't make lieutenant until probably about 10 years. 10 years in, which
wow.
I guess back then it really wasn't that much of a while.
Right.
But nowadays, if you're not looking at becoming an officer after 6-7 years, you're probably have no interest in being an officer. Just the way it seems to be.
It's so funny because, episode 1, Chief Roger Hall from Beechwood, he had said that was his frustration now, that he doesn't see people wanting to advance and wanting to take that step to be lieutenant. So, in 10 years, you wanted to become a lieutenant. You wanted to advance. So it's so much different than till now.
Yeah, nowadays I see that a lot where I don't know why it is, or I know times have changed and, personal responsibilities changed and people have to work multiple jobs and,
right.
I mean, you got to do more to make a living. So that could be part of it, but there used to be a lot more drive.
Absolutely.
And people just
absolutely.
People wanted it,
Right.
Nowadays, people just seem to, a lot of them just want to shy away from the responsibility that comes along with it.
Right.
The white shield on the helmet's kind of cool, but
a lot comes with it.
A lot comes with it. Yep.
So you were lieutenant and you enjoyed that, and then what was the next step? You became captain, right?
Yep. So I did 2 years as a second lieutenant, 2 as first lieutenant.
Okay.
2 as captain, 2 as assistant chief, and then finally company chief.
Tell me what it was like to become chief of this company.
It was great. It was it was quite an honor. Being in the company since I was 18 and just growing up here and spending so much time, and to finally reach the position of chief, it was just really it was special. It was good. I also found out that being chief isn't necessarily as much fun as it sounds. About 95% of the time, you're just dealing with some headache.
Literally putting out fires, like no.
Yeah, but not the fun kind.
Right, exactly.
Not the guy in the fire SUV that says, "Hey, fireman, go put water on that fire." No, we're putting out the wrong kind of fires as a chief officer. But I mean, I I wouldn't trade the experience. It was great. And then I was really fortunate after serving 2 years as chief of Company 1. A year later, I was appointed to district chief for
1/100.
That's it.
Right. What was that like?
1 million, as some have said, one infinity and beyond. You know, they've said it all.
So what was that like for you?
It was great experience. Obviously, a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
You know,
So
instead of putting out fires in one company, you're worried about
all
4 companies and everything that comes along with it.
So if maybe some of the viewers aren't familiar with Toms River's orientation, what is a district chief?
So in Toms River, there's 2 fire districts, and they each have a board of fire commissioners. District 1, District 2. In District 1, there's 4 companies.
Okay.
Companies 1, 2, Eastover, and Ocean Beach.
Okay.
Pleasant Plains and Silverton are in District 2.
Okay.
But District 1 has a position called District Chief, and it's appointed by the District 1 fire commissioners.
Okay. And that's how many year appointment?
It varies from time to time, but
Okay.
I think it's a 2-year appointment right now.
Okay. So what were your responsibilities as district chief?
So as District Chief, I would pretty much oversee any large-scale incidents in the district,
Right.
be liaison with the companies and the commissioners.
Okay.
Between the chiefs, emergency management,
Right.
things like that.
A lot going on with that position.
Yeah, lot going on.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So after becoming district chief, what happened to you then? What'd you do?
I kind of stepped back for a while, and there were some circumstances, personal circumstances that we'll talk about later. That
Right.
that I actually stepped away from the fire service for about a year, and just recently came back.
Well, everyone's happy to see you back. I'm certainly glad.
I don't know everybody, but
So we talked about you becoming an officer, which is awesome, and then you becoming district chief. So tell me about your best experience so far, being a firefighter. What were your best experience?
doing the broadcast on PintheQ.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. That's a great answer. I know it's not the truth, but but it's a great answer.
So my best experience, I would say getting the opportunity to be chief.
Okay.
So many times in the fire service, from what I've seen in the past, in my opinion, a lot of people make it to various leadership positions
Right.
based on a popularity contest. Because in the volunteer service, ultimately, members of the fire company are going to vote for who they want their officers to be.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're in the right crowd, you can get elected as long as you meet the minimum level of qualifications.
Right.
And in my case, what I kind of felt proud about is I think when I obtained the positions I did, I earned that, and it wasn't just because I was in the popular
Right.
crowd. If you were going to vote for me to hold any office, you knew that I was going to put my all into it. I was going to do what I felt was best for whoever I was representing.
Awesome.
So, whether it be the company, whether it be the district, I was going to do my best to look out for those interests and do the job, take it seriously, the responsibility, and do what needs to be done. And that was coming through the ranks. And when I was a chief, that was what I expected out of my officers.
Right.
You don't have to do the job, but if you commit to doing it, you need to do it.
Right.
You're committed. The job needs to get done. It needs to get done right. I love to fool around and
Oh,
joke
yeah.
around, as you know very
Yes,
well.
yes.
But in the same token, when we got to get something done, you got to do it.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I think that's important all around. That buy-in to the agency objective, and when you have a chief like you, that's all business when it has to be all business. I mean, that's important, and I think looking at a lot of different agencies, some individuals get elected to certain positions because of just what you said. I mean, let's face it, it's the good old boys club, or this one's the coolest or most popular, so let's vote them. But the fact that you're talking about getting all your positions based on merit is extremely important, and that is something to be proud of and to hold close to your vest, because unfortunately that isn't always the case.
Yeah, it's true, and ultimately, you need people that belong in leadership roles.
Absolutely.
And that are
committed
to doing the job.
Yeah, you got to steer that ship. That's for sure. I mean, what kind of culture change have you seen from when you started in '91 till now, and how is it different here?
Well, first of all, you made that sound like I'm really old.
Well, we're almost the same age. So.
I know that 91 was a long time ago, but it doesn't seem that long.
Well,
and it's crazy. You see kids in the Firehouse. I'm like, I wasn't even born in '91. I'm like, that's great.
I know. I'm in the same boat as you, man. I'm, it's funny, Roger. I always go back to him because he makes me laugh. But he said it perfectly. Like, here we are 30 years later. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Like, to put that in perspective, 30 years ago I started doing this stuff. That's insanity.
Yeah. No. You
right?
know. I mean it.
We're the old guys now.
Yeah, that's strange. Now, one of the things, at least in Company One,
right?
I'm not an old guy. I might feel like an old guy a lot of times, but we have such tenured, firefighters here.
A lot of tradition in this company.
Lot of tradition. We,
right. Like this thing.
That's right. That's 1898.
Nice.
I mean.
1898 hose cart. That is awesome.
Yeah, and I think I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I think Jake Newman, used to pull this thing to fires. but that's part of the tradition that we have, and the old timers that we had here. Jake, Dick Beck, 60-year members.
Wow.
Until a couple of years ago, these guys were. They were active.
Right.
They were riding on the trucks. They were doing things.
Tremendous accomplishment.
Oh, absolutely. I was on a truck. I don't know. It wasn't tremendously long ago, and I was the junior guy on the truck. A couple of years ago,
right.
And that happens around here. That we a 40-year member isn't totally uncommon. We have quite a few that are still active. So.
And what a unbelievable experience that is for these young guys to be able to have that type of tradition in the house, that they could ask any kind of questions they want about how it used to be here or what you used to do back then. And that's so important. And unfortunately, I don't see that these days. It's more of, that's the old guy, or there's so much more. I mean, if you just sat down for 5 minutes and picked their brain, for me anyway, I love history, so I would sit there and all just listening to everything that used to be. Like this Firehouse, for example, right? This I remember you telling me this Firehouse is the original one, right? This is where we're at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This was the old town hall.
Right. Wow.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of history there, and you raise a topic of the youth and the resources that they have that they could tap into, and talking to the old timers, and unfortunately, I see a lot of it where a lot of today's younger generation firefighter just doesn't have the respect for the service of the fire history. And I'm not going to, bash the kids. That's not what I'm getting at, because I think the responsibility to make the new firefighter understand and respect the tradition and the way the fire service works,
that's on us.
Is to educate them.
That's on us. Absolutely.
And
I agree.
if we don't do that, and we let them get away with the nonsense that goes on, then that's on us as much as it is on them. They don't know better. They're kids. If they don't have the mentorship and leadership to lead them in the right direction, what do you expect them to do? So
it's funny, thinking back about just what you said, it's our responsibility. In law enforcement, they have like field training officer programs, and they have coaching programs. So like a new recruit comes to the department, they're getting all kinds of one-on-one training before they even touch the street. And I almost think that in the fire service, we really should. I mean, there are companies that are doing it. So if you're one of those companies, good for you. You're ahead of the time. But there are majority of the companies, I would say, that you come in, you're on probation, right? You're a probie. You get the probie shield, and you get on the rig, and it's the guys on that truck, their responsibility to kind of show you around. But not everybody on that truck is going to do that. So it's almost good to have designated firefighters saying, look, you're assigned to this kid, you're assigned to that girl, you're assigned to that guy, and you stay with them and you mentor them, and any questions they have, they go to you. So at least there's something of some type of footprint,
Yep. And I've seen that work, and I've seen that not work at different times, and
right.
I think that's something that our current officers now have implemented. Fortunately, over the past year or so, there's maybe 2 years, there's been an influx of a lot of new firefighters, which is a great thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you definitely need that. Firefighting's a young person's game, right?
As I'm learning, as I'm learning. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I'm still. I can definitely still hang with the young guys. I know you can too. So as long as we keep telling ourselves that, we're gonna.
That's right.
We're gonna be good.
But one of the things when I think about it too is you look at the requirements at least I can speak from what the requirements were in Tom's River to be an officer.
Right.
The schooling has just gotten.
It's nuts.
But I mean,
I understand.
I understand too.
Right.
I mean, there's no difference from a liability standpoint if you're a volunteer company or you're a paid company and you're making the same decisions. And
absolutely.
So I get it. I know you have to do it. But one of the things, or not a big thing that's not included in the actual training, is leadership and how to deal with people. And I think a lot of times some great tactical, minds and, fire officers, they just have no people skills. and not...
We all know them.
But,
right.
And everybody...
Right.
Every department has them.
Absolutely.
Just change the name.
Change the patch.
Right. It's all the same.
Right.
But what have we really done as a fire service to try to impart and educate ourselves on being an effective leader? And that's one of the things that I think hurts us when we're we've been in our position for so long, and we
Right.
know what we're doing.
Right.
And then we think now we're officers that we can bring people along to do the same thing. And if we don't know how to deal with people and motivate people to
Right.
want to do it,
Right.
I mean, remember that we're talking about volunteer fire service here.
Right.
There's no paycheck.
Right, right, right.
You know, this isn't your quote unquote job. You know, this isn't going to support a family. This is something that you're doing above and beyond everything you need to survive.
Right.
If there's not motivation to do it, well, then why are you going to do it? You know, so
Right.
I think it's really important that we try to, you know, include more leadership skills into the training that we require for fire officers. Because in my opinion, it's almost as important or just as important as the tactics and that knowledge
absolutely.
that we require.
And that's Chief, that's a great point, because to date, I don't know of any outside of, conferences and lectures. I'm not aware of any programs are designed for just that, leadership and that's a good point, and that's definitely something that I think companies should look into, because not anybody can just move into a leadership role and be a good leader. It definitely takes time to cultivate, and I've been to a couple leadership schools, and I can tell you, before I went to those schools, I thought I knew a little bit about motivation and leading people, but those schools open your eyes to, everyone is different, and you're right. I think that's important. That it's something that we really should do better in the fire service.
Yeah, we definitely need to do better. We need to, we need to understand emotional intelligence,
Right.
and, understand how to get through to, the people, the firefighters, the other officers, and they need to believe that, their leadership cares about them.
Right, right.
So I mean, that's just something.
Well, the days of, do this. Why? Well, because I told you to do it. That's why. I mean, let's face it, those days are a little different now, and it's this generation coming in, and they want to know what's going on, and before they're doing this, they want to know what's going to happen before it.
Yep.
And that takes a little bit of training.
It's definitely training,
right?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's it's funny you bring that up, because that's certainly that's a good point. It really is, and that's something that I'm not sure too many places are thinking about that right now. So hopefully it'll open some eyes to some people that think that, because it's funny, because I when we talk about culture, one of the things that frustrates me to see is when, and sometimes the volunteer companies kind of do it to themselves. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies with things, and it frustrates me when you have a guy coming up to your front door. Let's say you have a CO alarm at your house. A guy pulls up at your door. He's got a tank top on, right? A pair of shorts, flip flops, and a radio strap. And this guy's come to your door, and you open the door, and you're like, what's going on here? And
I've got nothing to say on that.
Right. And that guy could have all the experience in the world, right? They can know everything that needs to happen and to take care of any situation. But, if you're the homeowner and you're looking out, you want the professional there. You want to make sure that person, if you're going to be the part, you really should look the part.
Right.
And how hard would it be just to throw a fire department T-shirt on? It's simple, some type of identification that you look like you are who you are, and that is what I mean by, leadership. I mean, that's something we can fix.
Yep.
That's an easy fix, and it's not the 80s and 90s anymore. It's a different time. We have to get more, get more professional and get back to what you're saying, having that leadership ability and that drive to be better, through education and training. And that's one thing that we can fix.
Yep.
I see it all the time, and it's like you cringe, because, we're better than that.
Yep.
And that's really, when you talk about career and volunteer, I think that's the one thing that really sets it apart, is one looks the part and one has the ability to look the part if they so desire.
Right.
Would you agree?
I think there's a lot of volunteer companies and organizations around that put the resources and requirements into looking, the part. I think that's...
You start to see more and more station wear, which is nice, yeah. A lot of companies are starting to go into that, for when you're on duty or you're on, when you have a duty crew. Now some places are doing that too, which is nice.
Right, definitely.
Plus it bonds.
You got out of the
together.
business too soon.
Yeah. I know, yeah. Everyone's buying uniforms now.
That's right.
So, but yeah, I appreciate that, Chief. It is a good point, and I agree with you. So we talked about culture. What about your worst experience in the fire service to date?
Well, I've seen a lot, done a lot in the fire service. Been involved in a lot of large scale incidents, tragedies, loss of life, things like that.
Yeah.
But I would say the worst experience came a couple of years ago, and it was with the passing of Chief Geneviese's daughter, Jessica. She was my goddaughter, and that was 2 years ago, November 5th, so just last Monday. But it was a week to 10 days after, and there was that memorial service in
Beechwood, yeah.
In Beechwood, behind the middle school, and I had to, officiate that and be the MC, and just, that was, I would say my worst experience in the fire service. And after that event, I didn't put my uniform on for a good 18 months after that. If I went to a viewing or for, somebody in the fire service, it was, civilian attire, so I'd say that was the worst.
Yeah, it's, I remember that, well. That was a terrible situation, and, being your goddaughter and your good friend, your brother firefighter and dear friend, that's a tough one. So, how do you transition back? It's...
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I had felt that while maybe my full level of dedication to the fire service, wasn't there anymore, I didn't really feel that it was time for me to be completely done either. So, I decided to come back and, ease my way into it, but I don't have any aspirations for, leadership positions or anything now. But,
right.
I didn't feel I was personally done yet. It's gotta be resilient, when it comes to tragedy. It affected, the way I looked at things and in my family life a lot. I thought about how many times, I missed out on events that my daughters were doing, and the time that I spent away from my family doing things at the Firehouse and meetings that I was attending, and whatever the case may be. And it just kind of gives you a new perspective of what's important and whatnot.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's like you said, we see so much tragedy. We see so many terrible things. I mean, our eyes see things that some people will never see, and somehow we have to keep going. We have to keep moving on, and that experience you had must be terrible. And I know what you went through because I was around during that time, and it was so difficult for me to just talk to John on the phone because I didn't know what to say, and John's a friend of mine, and the hardest part for me was, and having two daughters myself, was trying to put myself in his position, and I couldn't even imagine being there, and having even a rational thought at that point. So you being the godfather, I give you all the respect in the world to be able to bounce back from that. Excuse me. To come back, and I think it's important you did come back, honestly. And I know the people I've spoken to are very happy to see you back. So I applaud you for being able to come back. Have you spoken to John?
Yeah, I speak to him
Yeah.
all the time.
And you
sometimes I have a hard time, things to say.
Right. And you just recently had a scare with your daughter, correct?
Yeah, my youngest, who actually is only 9 days apart from Jessie. Yeah, she had some health issues and was out in CHOP for a week over the summer having brain surgery. So fortunately, everything came out great, and she's doing great. But
so the very place you were.
Well, make it even actually more ironic. I was out there last Monday. We had a follow-up. Well, last Monday was 2 years to the date that Jessie passed in the same building. So
yeah,
but
that's tough. I mean, I'm very, very glad to hear that she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's working out.
Yeah,
that's good. All right, so I know John certainly appreciates you coming on the show and being able to talk about this. And I was in the field that day at the memorial, and that was tough. That was a tough day. That was a tough day. So, and the fact that you said you had to run that, but I think it was good because it kept you doing something. It kept you, not thinking about that at the moment. You had so much to do that day, getting everyone set up logistically for the fire department in Toms River. So, and it was awesome. There's so many people there, and that was a tough thing to watch. The amount of people coming, and the more people that comes, the harder it is to see it and experience it all.
Yeah, definitely. But people were there, giving the Genovese family, support, which I think is really nice too. So it's good.
That's for me.
It's the brotherhood.
I was just gonna say that is the best thing that we got going for us, right? If we screw things up, we do. But the one thing we definitely got figured out is that, you pick up the phone, you call one of your brothers, they could be so pissed off at you one day, and it doesn't matter. They're coming for you.
Yeah, it really is. It's a family, and like a lot of families, oftentimes very dysfunctional. But when it comes down to it, 99% of the time, people will be there for you, and that's something that I think in a lot of occupations, professions, you don't really have.
Right.
The family that the fire service is. I mean, even if you think back to Hurricane Sandy.
Oh yeah.
You think about the mutual aid that came into this town, this county.
Right.
And
all over the place.
All from all over.
Right.
And the willingness of people, just other firefighters from around the country, to just come and lend a hand.
Right.
Whether it was helping gut another firefighter's water damaged house, or whatever donations, supplies, whatever they could do. I mean, and that's part of what the fire service is, and
right.
That's something that I think a lot of the younger generation just doesn't understand. But we got to teach it to them.
Absolutely, we do, and that's the beauty part about it. They're going to figure that out because they're going to get called upon to be there for someone, and God willing, they'll be there like we all are. But I think it just happens. I think you just show up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing. Like we said, one thing we got going for us. What worst call?
Worst call. Well, I guess we're coming up on another anniversary of it, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
somebody
about.
Thanksgiving morning, 2010, right? Coming up on 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
3 o'clock in the morning or so, call for accident, vehicle fire on the Parkway. I was assistant chief at the time. I lived right around the corner from the Firehouse, so I was always on first due.
Excuse me.
Get up on the Parkway, and the truck's overturned up against a tree, flames shooting 20, 30 feet. You knew it wasn't going to be good if anybody was still in the Jeep. And as the call developed, there was suspicion of who it might have been, and as the call developed, it was confirmed, and as Officer Jay Marles out of Pine Beach,
Ocean Gate,
sorry,
Ocean Gate, yeah,
Ocean Gate, and just that's a rough one. That's every Thanksgiving just think about that.
Yeah, that is a tough one. That's that certainly affected me personally, and it's I can tell you there's not a time that goes by I don't think about Jay. We called him Motown, but anyone who knew him, they knew him for his infectious smile. I mean, that kid always had a smile on his face no matter what, and could brighten a room. You can have a room full of angry people. He walks in, he changed the whole dynamic of the room. The good die young. It's true, and that was a tough one, and I appreciate your efforts that day. I know everyone did what they could for whatever you could do. At that point, there was nothing.
Yeah, and that's the rough thing, that there was nothing that anybody was going to do that was going to change that.
Right.
That was one of those inevitable outcomes that.
Mm-hmm. That's not good. That was a tough one. That's hard for me even to talk about today. That was a tough blow for a lot of people, and for the emergency services community, because unfortunately it usually takes a tragedy for everyone to come together, but that was one of those incidents where everyone came together.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what your patch said. All the egos were checked at the door. Everyone came together for each other, and fire, police, EMS, just an outpouring of support, for that officer and stuff. And Ocean County is known for being a pretty tight-knit area, and everyone really does try hard to work together. Everyone fights, and we have our things, but at the end of the day, I think everyone does their best to keep it together and remain a unit. There's a lot of buy-in to that, I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. When it matters, everybody can come together.
Yeah,
for all the bickering that on a daily basis, and I mean, I think that's a lot of posturing and ego issues. But when it really comes down to it, I think pretty much everybody's got each other's back.
And this is that type of alpha male environment. Everyone, for the most part, most people that get into this police fire EMS, they all have that strong personality as it is, which is good sometimes, and sometimes not so not so good. So when speaking about Jay's death, let's talk about some family sacrifice, right? What kind of sacrifice can you talk about as far as family goes?
One of the biggest things is just really time, right? Time away from the family. So my wife Stacy has been great. Very supportive. Tolerated the nonsense of me being out 4 nights a week for something, and not being at different events for my daughters because I was doing something at the Firehouse, things like that. I think it puts a lot of stress on a family unit, and I think it's something that you need to be mindful of and talk about with the family. There was a lot of times that I didn't really take into account how my doing things with the fire department was impacting my family. So I think that's something that's important to realize that and address it openly. The reason I addressed it was after the tragedy with Jesse. I mean, other than that, I would have probably still kept on going out missing a beat, but sometimes, if you can kind of take stock and reevaluate things without having that tragedy happen first, I think you're a lot better off, and just realize how much of a sacrifice our family makes for what we do.
Right. And it's a tough balance because it's almost, you have two loves, right? You have your family and then the love for the fire service. So it's like you said, it's a very difficult balance, but I think it's one we need to recognize because you're right. It shouldn't take a tragedy for us to have to reevaluate how we're doing things. And her death her tragic death is a testament to that, taking a step back and seeing what we're doing. And that is a difficult thing to do.
Yep.
What was it that got you back? Was it all the guys at the Firehouse talking about, missing your cooking? Because I know that's what you're known for, is your cooking.
That's right. It's
you didn't
chief. They take away the eye, and then I become chef. That's it. So
chef gone. You didn't bring anything.
No, I did.
Yeah, I thought maybe you would have brought something, but you didn't.
No. The way I understood these podcast things work, the host is actually supposed to bring something, especially when they're sponsored.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I know. Well. Yeah. Well, next time I'll bring something like a meatloaf or something.
Yeah.
I don't like.
I don't know that I would want that.
I don't like meatloaf. That's why I figured I'll bring it. And you can eat it, and I can watch. So, it wasn't the cooking then. So, what was it? What got you back here?
I just think I left not necessarily on my terms.
Okay.
I left, because of everything that happened, and at the time I felt that's what I just had to do, and kind of refocus what was important, and that kind of thing. But I thought about it and said, I don't really feel like I'm totally done with the fire service yet. And when my daughter was going through the issues, over the summer, the lot of people in the fire service were there for me and were really supportive. So a combination of things. I wasn't ready to totally hang it up.
And how much of the support from your family goes into this?
Oh, tremendous amount, and very supportive with me coming back. And,
awesome.
You know,
was
within reason, you know.
Right.
I show up with a red truck in the driveway. There's going to be some problems.
Okay,
I'm sure. But
so that was my next question: is what's in store for Gonzo?
I don't know. I never want to commit to, you know, taking. You never say always or never, right?
Right.
But,
exactly.
Yeah, like I said, for the time being, I don't.
You're happy with the Black Shield.
That's it. You know.
Okay.
I'm happy of coming around when I can, and you know, just being a part of the family.
So you getting in the seat, or are you in the chauffeur? What are you doing? A little of everything.
A little everything. All depends.
A la carte.
That's it.
Well, that's good. So I appreciate you coming on. And if you could talk about, if you could change something now, right? And I said to you, hey Gonzo, what do you want to change? What could you change if you had the ability? What would it be in the fire service?
Well, I don't know that change is the word. I think I'd like to restore a little more of the tradition and respect for that tradition.
Right.
I
love that answer.
I know, and that's why I gave it to you.
Yeah.
Cause you had me here because you knew I'd tell you what you wanted to hear.
That's not true. If there's anybody that is going to say no and call bullshit on something, it's you. That's what I like.
Not me.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, for example, month or two ago, Fireman Don Strunk from Eastover,
right,
charter member, passed away. You know, 60 plus active years
wow.
of service, right? At the viewing from our company, there was like a 3-to-1 ratio of white hats to blue hats.
It's not good.
Back when I was, you know, now I really sound old talking about back when I was a kid, right?
I know.
It sounds horrible.
But it's reality.
But I went to more viewings for people that I didn't know anything about, but they were an ex-chief or they were a life member. And I'm not talking about from my own company. I'm talking about from the town or even, you know, some of the neighboring county companies.
Right.
I mean, you just went. There was, you know, going to be a viewing and fireman service at this time on this date, and you were going to show up at your station in Class A uniform.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just did it.
Right.
It was, you know, and you were expected to. It was just what you did. It was the right thing to do. And so that's something that, you know, I think is lacking that I'd like to see, you know, change, just
getting
more
everybody
emphasis
back together.
Yeah, and you know, respecting for the fire service and the people that have come before you.
Oh yeah, that is so important. That is so important. Like that picture there. Tell me about that picture. I mean, that's,
you're really going to do that to me?
Well, I can let you look at it. You want to look at it?
So no, that's a picture of, you know, some of the founding members of this company.
Right. And that's exactly what you're talking about. So, you know, to have to harness that tradition and hold on to that. And so that picture is what these new guys should be learning.
Yeah.
What that's all about, their sacrifices. And just like you said, with your family, those guys had the same sacrifices with their family. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the guy from Eastover with 60 years. Think about his sacrifices his family went through and all that he had to, you know, put away to come here. And think about how many parties you've missed, events you've missed, school events, everything because of, the bell rings, you go.
Yeah.
It's just the way,
that's it.
just what we do, so.
How many holiday meals,
Yeah.
Right? Had a couple car dealers go on Christmas.
Oh, that's right. That's,
that's
right.
There's been, full days that you're out on, fighting fires on holidays,
Yep. The tough things, I know we spoke about a crash that you went to and you experienced. Tell me a little bit about that.
I guess that was kind of a turning point, I would say, or I don't know what cliche is best, maybe where the rubber meets the road or something like that. But so I was a second lieutenant, and there was a nasty crash on Cedar Grove right in front of the elementary school. That there was one fatality. The driver was DOA, and passenger was trapped in there really good. Had taken down a tree. The tree came down on top of the truck and was really pinned, big time. And again, lived around the corner, so
right.
I was on the first due piece. We get there and we're working, not making any progress. And during the call, we learned that the patient we were trying to get out was the son of an EMS legend in Toms River and Ocean County.
Yeah.
And it was just really frustrating. And after that, I mean, we worked and it must have been going for over an hour, and eventually they brought in Pleasant Plains, for relief, and they wound up getting them out eventually. But just after that call, I was so disappointed in myself that, hey, wait, this was my crew. We were supposed to go there and go do the extrication, and like we always have done. And the fact that that I felt personal failure as a leader of not being able to accomplish our mission objectives. And I had really considered, after that call, getting out of being an officer and not doing it. Yeah, I had thought about stepping down. It bothered me that, that the failure of, being able to, get it done. And not from an ego standpoint or anything like that. It was just, it made me question, my abilities, and should I really be in that kind of leadership position? So
I'm glad you stuck it out, because what a good decision that was.
Yeah, I guess, right? It seemed to work out okay.
And the end result is
he's
alive
great.
and well today.
Alive and well today. And,
doing well.
Saw him last week at the Halloween parade, and he's doing real well. But
that's good. Yeah, that's good. And if you're not familiar with Toms River, they are known, especially this company, for your extrication. I mean, you guys been doing it forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
Company One was the first, way back in the day.
Right.
Bob Salters.
Yep. With air chisels. Air chisels,
right?
Yep. And then the first Hearst tool that, you need two guys to hold up. It weighed like 6,000 pounds. But, yeah, and I'm familiar with your Rescue 61 down there. It's got every kind of homochral tool you can think of. I mean, you have them on each side of the truck, on the back of the truck. I mean, you guys do a really good job on these pins. So for you to honestly gave me chills thinking when you were telling me that story, because if you're saying that we really having a tough time getting this patient out, I'm thinking it's a really bad situation, because if you're having trouble getting someone out, that's bad.
Yeah.
No, they're really in there.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, well, Chief, I appreciate you coming out. Once Chief, always a Chief, so I'm going to call you Chief, even though you keep yelling at me and telling me you're not Chief anymore. I really appreciate you coming onto the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was fun to catch up again and talk about stuff, and I'm glad to see you're back. I think
Thanks.
It's important that you come back, and and I think John also, Genevieve's also appreciates to see you back doing what you love, and I know that he's happy that you're back.
So when are you going to have him on and bring him back?
You got to talk to him.
You got to work some of that Francois magic.
I knew it was coming.
So I was so good.
Yeah,
you didn't do it all.
You did the whole podcast without calling me
right.
Francois.
No Francois in there.
It's okay.
Maybe a Frankie here or there, but that's
all,
it.
Yeah, it's all love though. I like it. So again, thanks for coming on the show, Chief. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And again, your first episode's this first sponsored episode.
That's right.
So.
And after this episode, they're going to be banging down your door sponsorship offers.
Yeah. And I mentioned Homatro too for free. I didn't get anything.
That's
for
right.
That. All right, so here it is. Episode 4, Chief. I'm just gonna call you Gonzo because that's what I call you, Chief Gonzo. I remember again. This is episode is sponsored for the very first time with Eagles Emblems and Graphics. So I appreciate that very much. Awesome guy, Sal. He's aces. He wanted to be part of this, so thank you very much. Don't forget, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and also, of course, this YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't done so already. Website also, and you'll be on it. How exciting is that? www.PintheQ.com. Thanks again for coming onto the show. Hope you enjoyed seeing Gonzo as much as I did, even though there's nothing here to eat. But we do have water, so.
There you go.
All right. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Take care.